we're going to go over the Chapter 3 assessment. And so what you want to do is make sure that you review the questions and go over your terms and names when you get the chance. So in this Chapter 3 assessment, what I provided is quite a few different things compared to Chapter 2 assessment. So let me just hide a few tools here and make sure that we're ready to go. Now, let's grab 7, 8, 9, and 10. Move that over here so we can focus on the answers. Number 10. What ethnic and racial group settled in the middle colonies and why did they do so? Well, the answer you want for number 10 is Western Europeans, Jews, Catholics, and Quakers. So those were some of the examples that came over and settled in the middle colonies. So again, they were Western Europeans, Jews, Catholics, and Quakers. And what was really amazing about the middle colonies, places like Pennsylvania, is that they did provide a lot of religious freedom. And most of them came for the trade and the farming opportunities and what I just mentioned, the religious freedom. Africans, however, were brought there as slaves. So to finish this up, Jews, Catholics, and the Quakers. And so we do want to make sure, because that question is addressed here, but then it asks why did they do so. So most came over for trade and farming and for the religious freedom. Now, after you have done 10, make sure you check it off and make sure that it is correct and accurate. So now let's move on to number 10. In 10 it mentions, what was the Toleration Act of 1649? Now the Toleration Act of 1649 is an act that was passed in the colony of Maryland. And what it did was it promised religious freedom so that it could attract more settlers. So the purpose of the act was to attract more settlers. And it was passed in Maryland. And it was promising religious freedom. And that's where toleration is implied. So it promised religious freedom. Again, that seems to be a theme here, this idea of religious freedom. So now let's keep it going. Number 8. What were relations between Americans and settlers of Pennsylvania? Well, if you were to predict, and again going back to knowing what William Penn was trying to establish, then you'd probably say to yourself that the relations between the Native American settlers and the settlers in Pennsylvania were better than any other colony. So it was very amicable, and we're going to say the relationship was a lot better compared to other colonies. So the relationship between who? The Native Americans, the natives, and the settlers. So again, check against your answers, and if you're grading someone else's paper, please check against their answers. So in Pennsylvania, and like I mentioned, it was a lot better. We're better than any other colony. Okay, so that concludes number 8, and I really want to keep it moving, so I've been into 4 minutes, so hopefully I can keep this under 10 minutes. And let's get back here, move this out. And number 7 reads, why did Charles II want New Netherland? Now, New Netherland is a Dutch colony, and the Dutch colony was a threat to England because of its expanding settlements, location, and trade. And the location was really key to the fur trade and the business opportunities that were available in the New Netherlands was very attractive. So Charles II, this was a major reason for him wanting the New Netherlands. So we're going to say that the Dutch colony was a threat. Let's make sure that we got a pen. Let's just change the color up a little bit. Let's go to blue. The Dutch colony was a threat because of its location and its expanding settlements. So again, the Dutch colony was a threat, and that is one of the big main ideas there. And we just want to finish this up by saying settlements. So there it is. Now we're done with 7, 8, 9, and 10, and let's just clean up our canvas here and make sure that we have wrapped up the founding, the middle, and southern colonies, which is in between pages 100 and 103. So I hope everyone did a good job on that. Let's delete this, and then let's move on to the next part, and we're halfway through numbers 4, 5, and 6. So 6 reads, what are some of the effects, or what were some effects, let me correct myself, of King Philip's War? So I have a picture here of King Philip's War, so I wanted to bring this here. Let me pull this over here. Oops, not that exactly. So I'm trying to grab this here. Oh well, I can't do it. Let's keep it going. Number 6. What were some effects of King Philip's War? Well, many settlers and Native Americans were killed. Obviously, that's what's going to happen in war. A lot of killing. So, both Native Americans and settlers were killed. And many villages were attacked and destroyed. Again, we're going to see that in war. Villages being pillaged and attacked. And, that's what war attracts. A pretty obvious answer there. And I also want to include the fact that Native Americans were enslaved as a result. So we're going to see this echoed again. Were enslaved, which is definitely not a condition anybody would enjoy. Number 5 reads, what was the system of government in the Massachusetts Bay Colony? And so I have a reference here of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and maybe I can grab this one. Oh, I'm actually making this bigger. That's not what I want to do. So let me grab this. So the Massachusetts Bay Colony, here's a picture there, not the best, was important because this is where Plymouth is, and this is one of the first original settlements set up in the middle colonies. And the way it was organized was each congregation, so we're going to start off by saying each congregation set up its own town. So each congregation had its own town. We're just going to write over this map. Set up its own town. And we're also going to say that only church members could hold office or vote, and they elected the members of the general court, which chose a governor. And so this is important to understand because now we're starting to see these early settlers establish self-government in order to control order in society and make sure that everyone is working to keep building capacity for the colony. So each congregation set up its own town, and we're also going to mention in these notes that only church members, and we're just going to write over this, only church members could vote or hold office. I think that's an important note to have in your test or exam here, or your study notes, however you want to look at this tutorial. So number 4 reads, what was John Winthrop's vision for Massachusetts Bay? And before I erase this, I just want to show that I have this picture of tobacco And this mini picture is Pocahontas. I was trying to do something different, but it didn't work out. In any case, 4. Here we go. Let's change it back to black. And let's look at what our time looks like here. So we're at 10. Oh, we're almost done. What was John Winthrop's vision for Massachusetts Bay? Well, a vision is what he saw for the colony. So let's make sure that we understand that. And I'm going to just underline this word vision. And then his vision for Massachusetts Bay, which is next to Cape Cod. And his vision was that he saw it as a commonwealth. And it's important to understand the word commonwealth, so I'll look that up in the dictionary in a second. The commonwealth that would serve as a model for other people and communities. So he really wanted to make it a place of reference. So he wanted it to be a commonwealth that served as a model. All right? And before I wrap up number 4, let's just use the dictionary to find out what a commonwealth is. So I'll pull out the dictionary, and then let's type up Commonwealth. An independent country or community, an aggregate or grouping of countries, and then we can look at the thesaurus. No entries found. We can look at Apple. We can look at Wikipedia, and then we see is a traditional English term for political community founded for the common good. Historically, it has sometimes been synonymous with republic. And I think it's important to start building your vocabulary. But let's get back to the assessment. And, oops, let's not use that. Let's actually erase this now and conclude this test. Number 3. What were or how did John Rolfe change the Virginia colony? Well, he changed it with the cash crop. And the way he changed it was with tobacco. A high-grade tobacco, which became the basic crop. So we want to add that into the notes, that he changed it with the high-grade tobacco. And earlier, there was a mini picture of that, but let's keep it going. Number 2, why were Jamestown and Plymouth financed by joint stock companies? Well, I gave you the example of using pennies and giving each student 5 pennies and asking all of you to invest your pennies into my colony. And so what we saw through that simulation was that it divided the losses and it split our profits. So the whole purpose of that was to split profits. And me being a finance major, I really dig this stuff. To split profits and divide losses. And we can definitely look at risk and return in class at a later date. But number 1 is, what were the reasons given by Richard Hakluyt that England should start a colony? And let's just conclude it by saying it was to provide a market for English exports and also to plant the seed for the faith of, or the Protestant faith in America. So to provide for English exports. And so this concludes the assessment. And it's important that you look over your terms and names. Joint stock company, Jamestown, John Smith, House of Burgess, Pilgrims, Mayflower Compact, the Great Migration, Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, Proprietary Colony, and William Penn. And again, I want to thank you for learning with me, and you have a great day. And my name is Mr. Legaspi. Thanks.